Good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I've been active on social media, and I've been active playing my usual NES games on my Twitch channel. And I thought I would give people an update, give them my thoughts on some subjects, and what I would like to see going forward. Well, first and foremost, why am I not as active as I used to be? Well, in general, my interests have just changed. I've been spending a lot more time in prayer and devotion. I've been doing a lot of reading of scripture and just reading articles, writing, and basically just working on righteousness and holiness, and just trying to grow in the Lord. And that basically has been the main focus of what I've been doing over the last so many weeks. And it's actually been a very good thing for me, a very healthy thing for me, because a lot of us can get wrapped up into bad relationships or bad situations. There's a lot of toxicity out there, and the best thing that we can do is just have healthy boundaries and determine what we want to engage in and what we don't, and what we think is going to be best for, well, in my case, not just for myself, but for my wife and my 4 children. And so I've been focusing more on what it means to be a good husband, what it means to be a good father, what it means to be a good Christian. So those things are first and foremost in the front of my mind. Though I have also been discouraged about the state of gaming in general. Gaming has been a great way for me to express myself. And what I mean by express myself is not to try to thrust my ideas about identity, gender, or genitals into the face of other people. Rather, expression in gaming has been the opportunity to set goals, the opportunity to be creative and analyze gaming code, to examine RNG outcomes, and to basically consider all the possible ways of mapping out a game to see if we can carve off an additional frame or two. And this has served a very large role in my life over the last 7 years. It's given me the ability to express myself in these ways and to make contributions first and foremost. And that is what I enjoy doing. I enjoyed the occasional chill game on Steam, and maybe some RPGs on Super Nintendo, and these things have been fun for me. And I may still do certain things like that offline, but my interests have changed. Though I have a lot of good to say about gaming and what it has contributed to my own personality, as well as making good friends and making lifelong connections. Those things have been very exciting. Building the stream on Twitch has been very exciting. But I think for the most part, just being able to do something to get myself out of not having goals or not having a direction, not having a sense of what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Gaming kind of fell into my lap at a time in my life where it kind of gave me something to do, and that's great. But there's a lot of other things I could have done as well, but gaming just happened to have been that inspiration at one point when I watched The King of Kong, and I decided to buy the Donkey Kong cabinet and set scores on that, and then the Mario Brothers. All of that stuff has been fun, and it should be fun, and which is why I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about preserving the integrity of gaming as gaming. As some people know, a year or two ago, I had created a Twitch team called Retro Craze that was focused on live retro performances, and that the team itself wanted to, or the way that I wanted my team to function on Twitch was gaming only. And basically, what that meant is that we were going to be all inclusive and diverse, meaning that anybody could be part of it, but that the team itself was not going to be a basis for somebody to share ideas about their religion, so their channel isn't going to be about religion. It's not going to be about Christianity. Those are things that I didn't do. It wasn't going to be about conservative politics. I wasn't going to do that, and for other people, some people really like to identify their streams or themselves as LGBT, and those things just lie outside of gaming. We wanted to stream to the broadest audience possible. Now, I know some people have had different opinions about that, but essentially, when the day is done, it was my team. I could do whatever I want with it. Everything that I ever did, wrote, every rule, every pastebin, every tweet, everything that people said to me, all of that stuff was sent to Twitch. And Twitch did not have any problems with me being on their platform. Not once did they issue any sort of warning. They didn't ban my channel. They didn't kick me off the platform because I didn't do anything wrong. I was fighting for the integrity of gaming, and that is what I wanted to preserve. What's important about that is that I was against any sort of gatekeeping mentality. All right, for some reason within the retro community, there seems to be, if you're conservative, if you're a Catholic, if for some reason you just don't agree with people about LGBT ideologies, then you're labeled a bigot. People don't want you around. I mean, I for one had been banned in over 80 different retro channels. People didn't want me around, and the thing is I have my own ideas about stuff too, and everybody has their ideas about stuff, but to sit there and police other people's ideas all the time, that's problematic, and to treat people poorly because of their ideas, that's problematic. The thing is, it should have been focused on the gaming. See, gaming should have been our primary focus. It should have been our shared passion, our common interest, the unifying principle that we all came around. And if at any point some discussion, debate, differences of opinion, different philosophical conflicts, whatever, if any of those things had ever came to clash that would negatively impact the gaming community as a whole, then that is something that we would have to address in order to once again preserve the integrity of what gaming is, to keep gaming pure, to keep it about the gaming commentary, about sharing ideas about games and the streaming experience, talking about hardware, software, tricks, strategies, tactics, all those things that go into speedrunning or just enjoying a casual game for here and there. And for me, what was important and why I structured my team the way I did in the context of the retro community is because I saw how conflicts about religion and philosophy had often caused divisions and fights among people in such a way that it ended up just causing too many clashes, people banning people. And when I recognized that, that's what drove me to a gaming only mentality. That's what made me want to preserve gaming and protect it and keep it as gaming. But there are also people in gaming, the retro community specifically, who do not want gaming to function as gaming. They don't want that protected because they want to infuse, they want to infiltrate, all right, the gaming community with LGBT ideology. and leftist ideas. I mean, people on the right could do the exact same thing. They could make channels about Trump and Christianity and all this other stuff, but I don't really see that. And I think people who are more right-leaning, center to center right, tend to just focus on their games a lot more. But people who are more left-leaning tend to bring that stuff into their streams and bring that stuff into their gaming a lot more. It's a lot. You've probably noticed yourself when you go to a marathon or a race, and they're adding in there, he, him, she, her, they, theirs, Caesar, Zai, all of this stuff. And basically what it's saying is, I'm not here just as a gamer playing a game for you. I'm here, and guess what? This is my identity. This is my identity. Look at it. And the problem is that, well, I don't get to do that. Other people think, well, I don't get to do that. Not in the way that they are doing it. See, they want to influence other people because they want other people to be involved in their thoughts. They want people to buy in to their ideas. They want people to basically be influenced by their philosophies. And the thing is that we're all different. We all have different ideas about these things. And I think that's important. For example, I was having a conversation with an individual, and they basically told me that they were willing to accept any view of gender whatsoever, even if it was contradictory to their own, just as long as it wasn't my idea about gender. That was new to me. I don't tend to be taken by surprise a lot on some of these things, but for some reason that took me by surprise. I wasn't ready for that. I kind of thought that, hey, you get to have your thoughts on gender, I get to have my ideas on gender. What's the big deal? Well, apparently it is a really big deal for those who try to serve as gatekeepers and try to force ideological conformity. So basically, if anybody mentions anything, a view of gender or anything else that a person doesn't like, then basically they're attacked and ostracized, and people insult them and intimidate them, and cancel culture, all that stuff. That stuff's ridiculous. We get that stuff out of gaming, okay? If you want to think you're this, that, or whatever, you can do those things, right? Just don't push it on everybody else, because not everybody else is going to think that same way. You see, because once you allow some thinking, you have to allow all thinking. And that's the problem with not keeping it gaming only. So you have to, start making concessions. You have to start making justifications for what non-gaming things you're going to allow and what others that you're not. I know for some people that they're what seems to be important to them is identity. Identity seems to be a really important thing for some people, but it also seems to be that people don't like their ideas the ideas that they use to construct their identity to be critiqued. You're critiquing my identity. How dare you question my identity? But my identity is questioned all the time, right? So, I think that I have an immaterial soul, all right, that was created directly by God at the moment of conception, right? That I am a child of God and that my identity is in Christ, right? And that there's an image of God here. Well, the thing is, people don't like the ideas that I just used just now to construct my identity. That's who I am. That's what I am. It would be strange for me to say to somebody, well, you're denying my existence, you're engaging in erasure, and all of that kind of stuff. You're being a bigot. No, people just have different ideas that they use to construct identity, and it wouldn't make any sense for me to be upset about those things, because You get to have your ideas, I get to have mine. You get to have your life, I get to have mine. Because when the day is done, we all get to have our own journey of asking questions, of analyzing things, of evaluating books, topics, critiquing philosophies, examining ideas. And we all get to ask those really difficult questions about the meaning of life and what we are, making making metaphysical statements about the universe, whether it merely exists as matter, motion, space, and time, and can you even know that even if it does? And those are more of the epistemological questions and questions of morality, of whether or not homosexual acts are disordered, or whether or not they're perfectly natural, or I don't think that they're natural in the sense that it conforms to the principles of genital complementarity and functional compatibility. There's people out there who think that the rectum is a sexual organ. I don't. All right, so there's a lot of strange ideas out there, and I'm going to critique them. If I don't like certain ideas, I'm going to critique them, and likewise, if I have ideas that you don't like, you're going to critique them. Whatever, we all get to have our thoughts about it. But what's important is that every human being has inherent dignity, okay? So we get to examine these things. We get to have this journey of thought and identity and understanding, and we get to examine the world. We get to process our emotions. We get to think through our experiences. We get to sift through reality, and we get to ask all these really big questions, these questions of ultimacy, and we all get to do that. And I think it's really important that we do, and we recognize that process itself has a dignity, because it's the human person who is engaging in those things and trying to understand things. And I don't fault anybody for coming to conclusions on this, but you have to consider this. When you treat people like trash because they have ideas different than yours, that's not going to attract them to you or to your ideas. Like, let's say you have a person who very well could come to the same conclusions that you have 5 years from now, but guess what? You were a complete prick to them. You were very mean to them. You subjected them to cancel culture. You made your position so unattractive. You made yourself appear so unattractive to them that they're completely repulsed by you or anything remotely connected to you and your ideas. So really think long and hard about the approach that you take with people, whether or not you genuinely care for them, you love them, you want them to know that you understand them, you appreciate them, and that you want what's best for them. So you have to understand that dialogue is really important in this process. Right? Dialogue is one of those things that brings people together and enables us to work towards mutual understanding, and that open dialogue leads us to that. That doesn't mean that we're going to come to the same ideas. You can't force ideological conformity. You can't thrust that on people, and you cannot demand that of people, and you can't function as a community, under this ploy of tolerance and diversity when you're actually acting very intolerant and trying to force conformity of thought on these subjects. You can't have a militant activism and also be open to welcoming everybody in a very inclusive environment in the gaming community, so that gaming can once again remain the primary focus, the shared passion, the common interest, the unifying principle to preserve the integrity of gaming as gaming and to keep it as it is. I've had people tell me, well, Chambers, your ideas are very exclusionary. Christianity is very exclusionary. Every philosophy is exclusionary, because every philosophy is built by a set of propositions that makes it distinct from another philosophy. Otherwise, they would be the same. And every proposition, that a person affirms, logically excludes everything that is contradictory to it. All right. So you can't both affirm and deny something in the same way at the same time, for there to be cohesion, or it's incoherent if it doesn't. You're not going to be able to have a very cogent worldview that kind of draws together things. Otherwise, you're very fragmented and you're compartmentalizing things that basically, if you drew them together, you'd find all kinds of inconsistencies, such as treating people the way that you wouldn't want to be treated, kind of like double standards and stuff like that. Absolutely horrible. But every philosophy, every position is going to have some exclusionary principle, such as this individual I was telling you about earlier, that they basically excluded the ideas of gender that I used to construct my own identity, to understand myself. And even that, I don't even take that approach about constructing. That kind of makes it sound like it's more of a societal construct, which I think the identity is not one to... for me, it's something that I explore and I learn about. It's not something I construct, So I want to make sure that people know straight up that I reject that kind of postmodernism. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that people need to be more charitable towards one another. For some reason, it's very polarizing out there right now. I know that people are very passionate about their ideas, and I get that. And there is a time and place for the conflict of ideas. There's a time for debate. There's a time for friends to hash things out. There's times for people on opposing views to really go in deep and quoting scholars and data and statistics and everything like that. There's a time and place for all of those things, We can have the political conversations, the cultural conversations, the philosophical conversations, what is man, what is woman, all of this stuff, because you'll have one person who, they're like, well, trans women are women, that's their view, and they don't like it when they hear people, say otherwise. And then you'll have another person who will say, well, no, that's reducing womanhood to a mere concept in the mind, or reducing womanhood to a mere costume. You can't do that. What is woman is more has much more dignity than a mere idea in our minds. And I think part of that comes from the postmodernism, and that's just how that seems to function. So you're going to have conflicts between people like that, So you're going to have people like J.K. Rowling who are going to be standing up for women and what it means to be a woman and all of that. And then you're going to have people who are mad at her and calling her TERF and all of this other stuff, and because they feel then threatened, That's what happens when you have two conflicting ideas. And there's a time and place for people to have those discussions. But the gaming environment is not going to be for that. If a person really wants to, use the LGBT, QIA plus tag on their Twitch stream, they can do that, and I honestly don't have any problem with people using Twitch however they want to use Twitch. Guess what? I want to use Twitch the way I want to use Twitch. I want to create a Twitch team that functions a particular way, that preserves the integrity of gaming. Unfortunately, and take this to heart, people didn't seem to want that in the gaming community. They didn't. They didn't want to preserve the integrity of gaming. They wanted to be about protecting certain ideas that people have used to construct their identities. And it just became about identitarianism. It just came down to how people saw themselves. It became about what people like to do with their genitals. It came down to what people thought about the topic of gender. And all the while, I just wanted a team that was about video games. And it wasn't going to have any elements to it that moved us away from that. So, only gaming tags. In my mind, all of that stuff makes perfect sense. But I kind of get that, that wasn't going to be, conducive to the ideologies and the militant activism of some in the LGBT community and their allies. So with that, circle back, all of this stuff, was a very, very huge turnoff to want to be part of and to consider myself an aspect of the gaming community. The gaming community, if it's going to go in that direction and that's who they want to be and those people want to do that, but I would recommend for there to be a group of people, like a Gamers United kind of concept that's going to exist for the sole purpose of preserving the integrity of gaming, and do what I attempted to do with my Twitch team, and which, remember, Twitch had no problem with, no problem at all. So you can do this. It's part of the broad diversity of what Twitch wants for their platform. So I really think that something like that should exist, that keeps gaming the primary focus. Shared passion, common interest, unifying principle. I think that if a group like that existed alongside of and even grew and drew people together on the basis of gaming again, and leaving the other things for other, milieus to hash out, and keep those to compartmentalize and keep those things separate, and so that the gaming doesn't become, a platform for people to bring a lot of non-gaming stuff into it. And I think that would be a good thing. I think that would be a really good thing, because I think people would enjoy gaming a lot more for what gaming is and what it has to offer, because gaming has been an extraordinary experience for me, and I deeply enjoyed the process of working through games, and basically what it did for me as far as like setting goals and learning new things, and meeting new people. All of that stuff has been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But I would recommend to people just stay away from the toxicity, form a group like this, try to make a difference, try to preserve gaming and keep everything else out of it. And but for me going forward, I'm not going to be involved in any of those things if that's the direction that people are going to be going. And I think in general, most people will either just remain silent, they'll form a group like I recommended, or they'll just leave gaming altogether. And you have to understand that when people are doing this, you put other people in a very awkward position when you try to force conformity, when you try to involve these other aspects into it. I get that people are, they're activists, that they really want to be involved with the causes and everything that seems to be important to some people. And all of those things are understandable, but try to leave gaming alone. Try to leave things alone. Not everybody wants to basically be, have that stuff forced in front of them all the time. For a lot of people, they game to escape. They're tired of all the conflicts and, the bipartisanship in politics and the worldview clashes. And sometimes it's nice to just unwind and sit down with a bunch of people and not have to worry about what their thoughts and ideas are on different subjects, and just sit there and play video games. We don't. We're not having to draw attention to what we think about identity or genitals or gender or sexuality. I mean, think about it. Can we just play a video game? It makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to a lot of you folks as well. But those are the sort of environments I'm not going to want to be a part of. I think it has been very toxic to me as a person, and it's actually been a very negative thing for my spiritual journey. And I have found over the last month or so that in pursuing holiness and sanctification, and trying to learn how to grow and develop and to be a better father and husband. These things are more important. And I'm not going to basically give real estate to people in my head. I'm not gonna. I've already removed Facebook and Twitter from my mobile device, so I don't use those on my mobile. So I recommend that to other people as well. It's been quite liberating not looking at my phone every 30 seconds, and sometimes I only look at my phone once or twice a day. Just make sure I have friends who text me when they need help with some stuff, and so I try to check my phone every now and then. But beyond that, no. So yeah, going forward, the Chambers End Twitch channel is going to belong to my son. So he's going to play a lot of games like Call of Duty and Fortnite, Apex Legends, maybe some other modern first-person shooter games, and so you can come say hi. You can support the channel if you want. It's all his. The information is his. He's going to keep the name. He's going to keep the art. He's going to keep the emotes and all of that because he thinks that stuff is really cool. So we're going to keep all that. So you can stop by, say hi. Right now he's just doing a lot of 3 to 5 hour streams, and you can continue to support Chambers Gaming if you want. But understand that I'm not going to be the one that's gaming, and so you can still reach out to me on Discord or Twitter, or you can send me a whisper on Twitch if you want. If you want to have a conversation, talk about stuff, ask me questions about a game or two. Very open to still having all of the friendships and relationships I've had before. I just began pursuing other things, and I do not foresee coming back to gaming. Like I said, it served its purpose, and I've appreciated every single one of you. You've been great. Some of you have been great listeners, great thinkers, and I've enjoyed your personalities very, very much. So with that is my say. I wish all of you wonderful gaming, and have fun.